Hello, my name is Sebastian Roy, and I'm here to talk about software piracy and the impact it has on modern society. Software piracy has been and remains one of the most widespread forms of digital violations to this in the modern day, as as despite many different laws and enforcements on it, piracy remains one of the most prevalent crimes to this day. There are many different methods as to how people pirate and the reasons behind it and the reasonings people use to justify it. The ethics can be judged using frameworks such as utilitarianism and rights-based theory that show the moral flaws in these justifications. And there are different legal and security consequences of piracy, and they have and their ideas of potential strategies to mitigate these consequences. As society As society has gone on, software has quickly grown to become more and more prevalent in the world, to become basically its lifeblood, as it powers almost all devices in homes, businesses, and institutions. However, as society becomes more dependent on software usage, so does the illegal behavior associated with it, this being piracy. In general, as it's defined as the unauthorized copying or distribution of software, this violates intellectual property rights and diminishes the sustainability of different software. And there are many underlying reasons for the persistence of this software and the way people justify it. Specifically, specifically when focusing on things such as illegal downloads or license misuse. And there are many different ethical and legal ramifications for piracy, which can be supported by empirical research and industry data. Going into specifics, piracy can be defined as the unauthorized replication, sharing, selling, or use of copyrighted software. And there are many different common types of methods for piracy, according to the BSA, which includes counterfeiting, which is selling fake copies of legitimate software, shoplifting, which is sharing a single-use software across multiple different users, exploiting free licenses, which is extending the use of a free license over its intended time. Hard disk loading, which is installing a restricted software onto a computer that is being sold, and cracked versions of software, which is put onto free access sites on the internet for anyone to use. And these can occur on many different levels, whether it be a personal one, an educational one, or government one, and it often reflects the economic and legal state region. Why software piracy is very widespread and continues to be for many different reasons. For example, for example, um, it may not be some software such as Adobe or Microsoft Office can cost up to $100 a year, which for people in low income regions could be a significant portion of their income, which can make piracy seem like a necessity to be able to even access something like Microsoft Office. And not to mention, piracy is also very easy to access and distribute, making it possible for almost anyone to pirate, no matter where they are. And because of this, it leads to very weak enforcement in many countries, as they might not have the rate framework or mechanisms to address digital piracy, or they might not have, or they might not prioritize piracy cases. And as this goes on, many cultures might start accepting piracy and making it more normalized. So some might think that it is okay to pirate, as they might think it might be the only way, or that it is to resist against large corporations. And this eventually leads to people who might not even be aware that they are pirating, which leads to people unintentionally pirating software such as shoplifting, which could be seen as something that anyone could do that at any time. As time and as people continue to pirate, they have started developing these different justifications for pirating to make it seem okay. But these justifications are flawed. So just think is it so just thinking it costs too much and it's too expensive, that from a rights-based perspective, the creator of the software has the right to control how their property is used and how much it can cost despite a person's income, meaning that the person who created the software is allowed to dictate how much it can cost and how valuable it is. So others might say that corporations already make enough money, but this only applies to big corporations. And piracy can impact smaller software developers who might not have as much money as a bigger corporation and ignores the foundational principle of property rights. Others might say that no one gets hurt from it. However, pirating software from smaller developers can lead to reduced revenue, job losses, and inflated prices for legal users. And people who pirate educational software might say, "Oh, I only use it for learning." However, many educational companies already offer discounted licenses and many different open source alternatives, which and ignoring these options demonstrates a lack of effort rather than it being a necessity to pirate. The main form of piracy, and like the two main forms of piracy are illegal downloads and license misuse. And illegal downloads from unauthorized platforms might invoke copyright infringement, and they include cracks, keygens, and malware and viruses. And this use of pirated software can also forfeit access to updates and customer support and patches from the company, which could often fix the software if something is broken. And license misuse, such as installing cheaper versions of a software, is also very common. And while some might think it's okay, it is still considered piracy and carries legal and ethical consequences. The consequences of piracy happen on both the receiving and giving end, as according to a 2024 report, about $30 billion was lost globally due to unlicensed software use. And this reduces income for software firms and harms the broader digital economy. In many jurisdictions, the piracy, if caught, is punishable by fines, lawsuits, and even imprisonment. And not only that, just the act of piracy alone, even without getting caught, puts the user at risk, as there are many different as could it could install malware and computer viruses onto your computers or whatever hardware you use. And it also erodes a person's ethical and professional it erodes a person's ethics, as the more you pirate, the less the less you think about the less you think about it ethically, and the more you want to do more things similar to piracy. To combat piracy, there could be many legal and educational interventions to enforce laws, such as targeting schools and small businesses. There could be Companies could also put out more flexible licensing models, such as subscription services and cheaper lifetime licenses, so that more people would be open to buying it instead of pirating it. As for technological measures, there could be more usage monitoring and license audits to help detect these pirates and maybe catch them. To do this, developers must develop a strike of balance to avoid alienating their legitimate users, however. And despite these popular softwares that people want to use, there are many different free open source types of software that people can use, such as Mattermost, Blender, or GIMP, which can be considered just as good as the original software, while promoting a small business and be completely free and ethical. In conclusion, software piracy continues to eat away at the industry and compromises ethical standards. And despite its normalization in some cultures and its flawed rationalization that people use, it remains both a legal offense and an ethical violation. To addressing this problem requires more than technical enforcement, but it also demands a cultural shift. Users must be able to recognize that respecting intellectual property is an essential part of digital citizenship, And at the same time, developers should also create systems that promote people to want to buy their products and software by making it more affordable and accessible. And only then can society move to a future where software is more accessible and affordable to everyone and be able to be ethically used. Thank you. Here are my references: advantages and disadvantages of piracy, pirated video sites cost streamers $30 billion a year in lost revenue, consequences of piracy, enforcing software rights, and 12 open source software examples. Thank you.